Thanks for coming to our session. This is the Mindshare Committee session, what we do and why. So normally we do something similar to the Fedora Council Town Hall, where we kind of just have an hour for folks to come and talk to us about various things. Throughout the last year, we have realized in certain ways and also worked on Mindshare visibility because we feel like it's a place that's kind of lacking. People still don't really understand necessarily what the Mindshare Committee is and why we do what we do. So we thought we would put together an informational section of our session, and in order to help folks understand what we're trying to do. So let us go to the next slide here. So what is the Mindshare Committee? And also I'm going to probably ramble a lot, but Vipul or Alberto, anyone else, feel free to jump in as we go along, right? Okay, so what is the Mindshare Committee and what does it do for Fedora? So it's a group of folks dedicated to improving communication, supporting outreach, motivating contributors and teams, sharing best practices, and managing funding requests. So this is not an entirely inclusive list. We actually seem to do more than that because people know us as Fedorans they can go to. So as part of our annual survey, we actually found out that people are more likely to approach individuals from the Mindshare Committee than they are to come to our meetings or to open a ticket on our Petr repo or to email the mailing list, right? And as much as we're a group of approachable folks, we also have responsibilities and lives, and it's a lot easier for us to kind of mainstream that through our Petr repo and our other channels. So that's kind of one thing we're trying to do there, right? But so improving communications between teams. We do this by bringing a group of people together that are widely varied, right? So we have reps from different places, we have elected people, we have a couple appointed people. We're going to go a little bit more into that on the next slide. We won't go too far into that, but we're improving those communications between the teams simply by having reps from a variety of teams, right? We have design, docs, etc. We'll go a little more into that. Supporting outreach efforts. So this would come down to, do you need maybe money to run an event? Obviously, we're living in a pandemic world at this point, so this looks like a little bit different. But normally, we would be helping folks run events and get swag to those events, and that could be really anything. It could be, us having a presence at a conference, right? So, you live in some place, there's a local Linux conference that you're able to attend, and you say, hey, I'm going to bring my Fedora presence there. And you would reach out to Mindshare and we'd be like, great, let us send you some swag to hand out. Let's send you some resources that you can print and have at the table. Let's make a badge for you, right? So we're kind of like this node in between the other teams. So we can help folks do things like pull off events and get swag to those events, motivating contributors and teams. So this comes down to encouragement. It's definitely like a people skill thing. We're all interacting with folks in the community and in our separate teams and spaces. And part of what we do as Mindshare Committee members is to help bring some energy to those spaces, to help motivate contributors and individual contributors and also teams of folks who want to work on things. We're here to support you. We want to make that happen. Your dream is our dream. So, we help people maybe shape those initiatives. Someone comes with an idea and says, I want to do this. And we're like, that's awesome. We actually know somebody who's working on that already. Let's connect you, right? So sharing best practices, basically working to constantly improve how different teams are working and how we're working together, and help and allow that to evolve over time, right? So we're trying to let the committee grow in that sense, right? So best practices are always evolving. And then managing funding requests. This could really be anything. Sometimes it has to go through the council first, depending on what it is. But the Mindshare Committee does work on things like swag. We also approve things like sponsorships of conferences, et cetera, et cetera. So most of the time, we're very positive about, sponsoring conferences, et cetera. It really comes down to like, can you represent your Fedora at that conference for us? What does it all take to be involved? And can we make this happen in the timeline that we have provided? So there's all kinds of, I think we've also had requests, like, can we have like a password manager? Can we have, this thing or that thing? So we take into account, our resources and, what we feel will be most beneficial for the community overall. So that's a very large overview. If other people can think of more things we do, feel free to put them in the chat. So how is the Mindshare Committee distributed? Who makes up the committee, right? So I'm appointed as the Community Action Impact Coordinator. I run the meetings and I make sure we're kind of all on track, and so I lead up the team. Then we have representatives from a variety of the Mindshare side of Fedora things. So those are community related teams or non-coding teams, right? I don't want to say non-technical because some of this work is very technical, but they're non-coding teams. So we have representatives from ambassadors, com-ops, websites, design, docs, and mentored projects. So this list right here is not the end-all be-all list. If there was a team that was super active, we would want to have a representative from that team. So like previously, we did not have a mentored projects rep to council, and we made that because we felt that that communication was important with the other Mindshare teams. So for example, we have a websites and apps team that's coming like up and running, right? Rick is involved in that as a stakeholder and one of the long-term like maintainers of websites, right? But it might change to websites and apps. So this is not a hard and fast list. We're welcome to growth here. Though I have to say, if you're, anything over like a dozen people, you might not be a committee anymore. So we might have to switch things up. We'll see how it would go if things continue to grow. And then we also have 2 elected positions. So basically each elected position, they have 2 cycles. So we have 1 election for 1 seat at a release, and then the next seat will be at the next release. So if you were to sit on Mindshare, you would be there for 2 releases, so a year. And we currently have 2 elected officials, committee members. Okay, so what has the Mindshare Committee been up to lately? I could talk about all the different things we do, but let's think about some of the concrete things that Mindshare has contributed to, so you get like a real good idea of what we're doing. So we've been a huge support to the community outreach revamp. So that is an effort to revamp mainly Fedora's ambassador program, but all of the other outreach programs are going to benefit from this as well. So we've done a huge amount of support at giving advice, looking at the proposal, trying to help improve that. I give updates. I'm very involved in that revamp, so I give updates to the Mindshare Committee and let them know how it's going. And they might say, hey, we have this idea or that idea. We've helped to support the new logo rollout by deciding, what kind of swag do we want to continue printing with the new logo? What do we want to discontinue? What do we hope to see? What kind of objects do we want to even include in the swag, right? So one of the things that came out of that is we're trying to go for more sustainable products. So actually the new vendor that we're working with behind the Cool Stuff store has some of those options, and we're able to do a little bit of that for the swag pack. So that was awesome, and they helped me kind of make some decisions about what was going to go into that. We've also sponsored or helped support sponsoring many other virtual community events, and we've organized the presence and been the folks sitting at the booths in those events, those virtual booths, chatting with people. So we worked on a presence at Summit, Red Hat Summit, Academy, OpenSUSE conference. I think there's more. There was honestly a lot of virtual conferences in the last year that we have organized presence at. We also helped out with the first annual contributor survey, just giving some feedback on that and making sure that the community engagement part was tip top. And then last but definitely not least, virtual release parties. I'm not the main organizer for those, but Mindshare helps out a lot with what we do and how we should form the event. And, you know, let's make sure we don't miss this topic or that topic. Helping me kind of craft what kind of like virtual experiences we might want, like external type events, like things like Work Adventure or that team building service we've used in the past. Right. So how do you work with Mindshare? How can you work with Mindshare, and how can we help you? So these are basically just an overview of the different ways that you could talk to us. Everyone is comfortable, or everyone has a different level of comfortability with speaking in public channels, opening tickets, whatever it might be. So please do what is going to make you the most comfortable, but I'll just briefly talk about like the options you have. So you can come to our weekly meeting. We're actually in the process of relooking at the time. But you can attend our weekly meeting and just let the chair know at the beginning, like, hey, I have a topic I want to talk about, and we'll make sure we fit in some time at the end at the open floor. You can open a ticket. If you know what you need, just go right for it. And go ahead and open a ticket on the Mindshare repo. You can email the Mindshare mailing list, though I have to say it is not a very active mailing list. Our IRC channels is much more active than our mailing list. I sent out maybe an email a week to that mailing list. I don't think I see anything else coming through. So, or you can reach out to a Mindshare committee member. This is the least ideal option. We're all very, very busy people. But if that is what makes you feel comfortable, please feel free to do that, and we can kind of guide you through the process. So we hope that Mindshare provides even more. So when I think about Mindshare, I'm like, it's the sharing of minds. Like we're bringing the minds together and making the best idea we possibly can. I think everyone kind of has a different viewpoint of that. I explained that one to Ben Cotton, and he was like, what? And I was like, I mean, isn't that what everyone thinks? And he was like, no. And I was like, okay. So we're really about improving communication, best practices that we talked about before. But I think that the point that I'm trying to make here is we want to help you succeed in Fedora. So if you have something that you want to achieve in Fedora that's non-coding related, we are the team to help you. So we want to help you make your Fedora thing succeed. There's also a wealth of knowledge in our committee. Like most of the people on the team, I'm just curious, Nick, how long have you been involved in Fedora? What year did you get started?
Hi, I am Alberto.
Hi, Alberto.
I have mostly 3 years here since my first contribution from ComOps to now 3 years, more or less.
Awesome. Alberto, you rock. Nick, how long have you been involved? You're on mute if you're talking to us.
That's how long.
Forever. Infinity. You're still on mute. Maybe just write it in the chat. Vipul, when did you get involved in Fedora?
I think 2016,
Right.
17.
So I've been involved.
Yeah, it's been
I've been involved since
5 years.
2013.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Oh, what were you going to say?
Wow. I recently got 5 years badge, so 5 years plus.
Nick
definitely.
was the experienced person when Ben joined in 2009. And
Yep.
we have Máirín Duffy, we have Till, we have, I'm not trying to leave anybody off on purpose here, but there's a wealth of knowledge about Fedora, how things work historically, and also just the network of people. So if you're trying to get something done, you're not sure who to go to, someone on the Mindshare committee could probably tell you. So to further that, that communication improvement, we also have a representative on the council, right? So we have someone from the Mindshare committee besides me that goes and kind of represents Mindshare at the council in those different discussions. So where else can you find the Mindshare committee? We have docs. Here's the repo mailing list. I will share these slides at some point. And we're also on Element, and we were also on Telegram. So last but surely not least, I think this is last, yeah. Last but surely not least, you can be a part of Mindshare. So it might not be something, it's not something that you would do as a newbie. There's a lot of places to start as a newbie. Being part of the Mindshare committee is probably not. But if you've been around for a little while, even 6 to 12 months, this might be something that you would be interested in doing. It's definitely more along the lines of project management and kind of like thought work versus busy work. So you have to, kind of think about these different things, but we welcome new perspectives, and having newer contributors even would be seen as a bonus there. Like, what's a new contributor's perspective on this, right? So I would say not for like total newbies, but even folks who are newer into being involved in Fedora are welcome to join and give us new perspectives and be a part of the team. So you can run for an elected seat. We would love to see more people voting in our elections. There's actually, like, historically just less votes for the Mindshare than FESCO, and I guess it's because Mindshare is new or something, I don't know. But we'd love to see more people just participating voting wise. Even if you aren't going to run, when you get to that elections page and you see FESCO at the top and you see Mindshare right below, make sure to vote for Mindshare too. And you can expect like a 1 to 3 hour commitment a week. We have a weekly meeting. It's not required to be there all the time. We hope that you would be able to make it to at least half the meetings if possible. And that meeting is an hour, and then occasionally we'll have follow-up little tasks to do. And then I'd say, it's been a little bit different because of virtual, but I think we try to meet like once or twice a year as a team. So we had a virtual meetup a couple months ago, and we really did take it easy because we wanted to see each other's faces. We're always on IRC. So post-pandemic, or when we can travel again, we would definitely take the opportunity to see each other in person if we could. And it might be around something like Flock or a release party, but we would definitely want to see each other in person. Great. So, all right, that is the presentation slides that I have. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can just chat. How'd it go?
Hey, we have 2 questions. Oh, good coverage, Máirín.
Good. I'm glad. Did I miss anything?
No.
Okay, good.
One thing, we also do things that you may not see there. Like from mentored project, there are certain responsibility where I make sure we are participating and looking after mentored projects. People from marketing side or ambassador side has a stake in making sure the community outreach revamp is in progress. So every representative of different sects or different parts of Fedora project, they have their own responsibility, what they do, apart from being this whole community where they try to do something big and together, which is community sustainability and happiness in my definition of it. Mindshare does community sustainability and happiness, which FESCO
Yes.
does not. So the other side of things.
Yes, I would agree. And yeah, I would agree with your first point too, that most folks are doing something in their team that they're, kind of representing. But we do have elected officials, and sometimes teams just simply aren't as active, like the Fedora ambassadors. Right now, currently, like we have Nick as our representative, but there's not a lot going on there. But Nick is an awesome asset to our team. So you don't want him going anywhere. And plus his stake is in the revamp. So I totally agree with that. Okay, let's look over at the Q&A situation here. Will there be Fedora join SIG representation in Mindshare? So they could. Oh no, now you're here with audio.
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I took my headset off and I'm just using my speaker and my webcam.
All right.
So to answer your question, I think I started in Fedora 11.
Okay, that was a very long time ago now.
2008, 9, somewhere in that area.
When was your Fedora account created? That's always a good one. I think you can see on badges. All right, so I'm going to take one of the questions here, and Nick, definitely let us know. I'm curious. Will there be a Fedora join SIG representation in the Mindshare Committee? So that's a great question. And I'm going to say it actually already does have representation. We have multiple folks who are involved in the join SIG on the committee right now. Furthermore, we've talked with the committee, the join SIG, and kind of the purpose behind that, not purpose, but one of the kind of fundamentals of that team is low barrier to entry, right? And kind of a low commitment type of a SIG to be a part of. And the whole idea is that folks can simply just hang out in the channel. Now, if folks from the join SIG wanted to be a part of the committee and want to be part of that discussion, absolutely happy to have that conversation if people think it's beneficial. I do think that we have some representation through the ambassador, kind of role that Nick provides to us, but Alberto's on the join SIG, and I think Vipul's on the join SIG, and so we actually have that, like, at least the thought behind that team, or the the basis of that team is there. All right, Nick, you got it. What is it?
April 2007.
Oh,
Close, I was close. Nice.
So you're at 15.
I was 10.
14 years. 2021. Something like that. Math. Well, yeah, I think Nick might be our oldest Fedoran on the committee. So I think Akash might have left. I hope that answered the question, though, about the Fedora join SIG.
Also, we have had this discussion before.
Go ahead.
On tickets and in Fedora join channel, where I spoke to Ankur and more people there. And one of the things we realized is the most active members are already somewhat very close to Mindshare, as you just mentioned. And we also wanted to reverse it in a way, somewhere from Mindshare committee, if they could hang out in join SIGs to answer question on how the organization works and different things of it, it would be more beneficial than taking out or asking someone to do one more thing. Because again, as you said, it's a very low barrier, it's just low commitment thing where you can just go and hang out. So it has been discussed, and we realized this was not the most needed thing. We can look from multiple perspectives, from ambassador, marketing, mentored project, and all of these things, do a little bit of chipping in the join SIG. So yeah, this is an old discussion, and maybe I can find some tickets to show around.
All right, cool. So Ben asks, Mindshare consistently has fewer candidates and fewer people casting votes in the elections. Oh yeah, I was just talking about this. Compared to the council and FESCO, does the committee see that as a problem? And if so, how should it be addressed? So yes, we definitely see it as a problem. And that was one of the reasons why we structured the talk today like we did. We're really excited to have this up on YouTube to send to people, to send to perspectives. I've approached folks during my term as FCAIC. I've approached folks asking, do you want to be part of the Mindshare committee? People don't necessarily think like they're a good fit, but they absolutely are a good fit. And they're like, well, what is it? What does it all mean? What does it take to be a part? So we're really excited to have this video to show people, what it's all about. So we're hoping we can use this to promote Mindshare visibility and understanding. We've also put in questions into the community survey. So the annual contributor survey, and we also were part of the community revamp survey. So the idea behind those were to get a baseline of what kind of understanding Fedora project has about Mindshare. And as you will see in my survey presentation later, it's not the right answer. We didn't get the right answer there. So it was like who do you first go to if you need to run an event, or you need to get Fedora resources, event, swag, et cetera, et cetera. I think the number one was local ambassador. The number two was local user groups. The number three was the council. Mindshare was not even in the top three there. And we had some, we had some interesting write-ins too. I like some people just would write it like Vipul, Nick, Máirín. Like I'm pretty sure we got those responses. So that's not what we want. We realize this is a problem, right? So what we're hoping is to put some effort into this over the next year, and by things like promoting this video, being it maybe we'll go to the next release party and have a little talk. That could be a way. And yeah, I think that by next year, we hope to see some change in those results of the survey. And that also, like we wrote like the F cake, and then like a bunch of people wrote in Máirín. So like maybe also that I'm the F cake, or just put my name in brackets, whatever. So we hope to see a different answer to that. So that's kind of where we're at with it. But honestly, all of us are super involved in Fedora. And I'm going to say that, like, even as a person who is working for Fedora, I work extra time for Fedora, right? So we're all we're kind of spread thin on what we're doing, right? So for us, like doing a lot of that analysis and writing extra blog posts and promotions, it's like, it's one of those things that is not the top priority. The top priority is taking care of the Fedora community, right? Like dealing with those tickets, making the sponsorships happen, getting the swag out to people. Those are the priorities. So unfortunately, like we only have so many resources, and making improvements on visibility isn't something we have like a ton of time and energy for. We'd love to partner with like maybe the ComOps team to do something like that, because I know that they focus on, analysis, like data analysis and things of that nature. So anyway, I think I hope that answered the question. I think specifically for the elections, I think we should try to do something different. Like so far when I've been involved, it's just been me asking people I know that I think might be a good fit, right? So maybe we need to go ahead.
Maybe for the election, to get more participation in the election itself, have a badge just for I voted for Mindshare.
There we go.
And to get the badge, you have to go to the Mindshare election and vote, rather than like currently there's a I voted, but you can just vote for council and get it. So right. I don't know if it would work or not, but maybe if there was one just for Mindshare, more people would go vote, even if it's just to get a badge.
Right. So actually we thought about like retiring badges as they, as our community evolved, and that might be like a place. So instead of having the I voted, we could do ones for Council, FESCO, and Mindshare, and we could have them be repeating ones so people want to come back and earn them every time. So that would probably be like, I'd probably want to retire the general ones and then make like these, make ones for everybody, not just Mindshare. So Council and FESCO. Yeah. Nick's like, no, we could just do it for us.
No, I would say that sounds good. I mean, hey, it's an opportunity to get more badges. I like getting more badges.
Nick's always pro badges.
That's what we are all here for.
Although we do need to, which I guess this doesn't really apply to this talk, but we do need to either fix some of them or somehow change their description to say this is retired. Like all of the fast badges, they haven't worked in a year or two.
So my idea behind that was to make like grayscale versions. So just replace the PNG with a grayscale version.
Okay.
And then just like, I don't know, some denote it somewhere that it's retired. Like we put retired at the end of the title.
Yeah, we can edit the description or something, because we get tickets that are like, well, I set my GPG key and I didn't get a badge. Well, no, you didn't.
And you never will.
It doesn't. So then usually Computer Kid goes in and awards them to people.
Computer Kid. What a great one.
Yeah. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would actually really help with the elections in particular. And a side note on badges, yes, it needs love.
Yes.
It needs love. I'd love to see, I can't overcommit myself, but I would love to do some kind of a badges hack fest, try to get some things in order. What?
If any of the designers get time, I would very much like someone to make the art for the dumpster fire badge.
Yes!
Which apparently we're going to name differently because Matthew suggested we come up with a different name. But I think he's okay with the art still being a dumpster fire. For the IRC switch over.
Yes, definitely. And everyone who did that put in a lot of effort, like overtime effort, to make that happen. So we want to say thanks for sure. Some good badges ideas out of here. Okay. Yeah. So let's get to the next question. Go ahead.
I'll talk about the next question.
Sure.
So Sarah asks, is the representation of Fedora at FOSDEM also part of your job in the team? My answer would be, I don't think the representation itself is necessarily something that the committee members would necessarily be the ones doing. I mean, yes, we do have events that some of us go to, but going to the event is not necessarily part of Mindshare. I see Mindshare's role as providing you the resources you need to represent Fedora at an event as part of Mindshare. So if you are interested in organizing, having a presence at FOSDEM, I see our role as providing you funding and swag to represent Fedora.
Yes, and the workflow for that would be opening a ticket on Mindshare repository, and we'll have votes on there. We'll discuss it in the meeting, and depending on the outcome, we would agree how much funding we can provide, when to ship things, swags, and things like that. So Mindshare is the place you would go to request that. But yeah, as Nick said, Mindshare is not responsible for making sure that we represent everywhere. But the other way, if someone wants to do that, we provide them the resources.
That was a great answer, Nick. Ben's next question. Theory, Mindshare Committee gets less engaging because it's not visible enough. We agree. How can we help the community see the great work the Mindshare Committee is doing? Follow up, once again, Marie answers my question before she gets to it. So we did talk about this, and right, visibility. So using some analytics from our survey results, trying to put a little bit more into promotion, maybe working on these badges for the elections. I think that in itself will make it more visible because people want to earn badges. And they're like, well, what's this Mindshare thing? Maybe I should look a little bit more. And maybe we need to work on something coming up, but it has to be a low effort type of a thing. But it could be something as simple as getting our meeting notes onto the community blog. I don't know, maybe we could try to do like a monthly community blog update from the Mindshare Committee. It sounds like something that would fall on my shoulders, which I could just like take the notes from each of the meetings and put it all together at the end of the month. Could be a thing. So those are a couple of ideas I just have off the cuff. If anyone has more, feel free. And I kind of want to read through this chat a little bit. Feel free to drop more questions.
Okay, JT, I don't think we're talking about retiring badges as a whole, but retiring specific badges.
So this is a good point. So someone commented here, I could be wrong, but I think a lot of people think Mindshare is for people who have been part of the Fedora community for a while. So JT, when you say that, do you mean like that they need to be a while to just come talk to us, or to be actually an elected member? I think it might be the second one. And I kind of, I mean, it doesn't, you don't have to be a long time here in Fedora, but it will be beneficial for you to be a part of the community for, like I was mentioning, like minimally 6 months, probably a year. And to be fair, it is a role, or being a part of this committee does have a certain amount of commitment, and we all super duper care about Fedora, and have a lot of passion and love for it. And I think that is cultivated over time. Like, we don't expect people to just come in and be totally passionate and in love with Fedora. It's definitely something that grows. So Vipul, did you want to chime in?
I'm just thinking, it's pretty much same for any election, any committee. If you are going for elected member, then to attract votes, you have to be around for a while so that people can vote for you and they know who you are. But most of the Mindshare committee member, if you go back on the slide, you'll see there are just 2 elected members. That means most of us are coming from certain groups or SIGs and representing it. That means usually agreement of the whole group and SIG that, yeah, this person is the right person to represent us there. And for that, again, it's important for you to gain trust of others being around a while, working on different things. So it's not generally a rule, but to get elected or to get votes, unless there is just one person, last place happened. Although the person happened to be a great person, that's a different conversation. For any election or for anywhere you are going to represent a group, you need to be around for a while so that you can gain the trust of community and group member that you can represent them.
That was a great response. The trust part is definitely part of it. Being more active on the mailing list might help. I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure what we actually have to say on the mailing list, because we really do chat in IRC so much. Like, that's our primary chat, and I feel like, yeah, it's dead it's dead like half of the week, but I feel like we're chatting in there every couple days or something. So I wonder, okay, we have some more comments. I think that's actually a really good point. So JT made the point again that I think that also means that people may have a perception that Mindshare does really important stuff, and people may worry that their issue or idea is too trivial to bring up. Since Fedora has been around for a while, it's a large project and has a legacy that can give newer members the feeling that it's not approachable. Yeah, I mean, I could totally see that. So in one way, I think we do important things, but it's just as important as people who are helping, like, the operating system happen. It's just saying, like, we're all part of this one big ecosystem, right? So, like, I would say that it's an important piece of all of it, but I wonder how we can kind of make ourselves more approachable. I'm thinking of, like, little cartoons. Okay, that would not be sustainable, but, like, somehow, like, making our persons a little bit more known. Like, okay, this is the Mindshare Committee. Okay, an infographic. That's very simple for people. And it says on it, anyone can come ask Mindshare for help. Yes, even you. So an infographic might be a good thing to do. And I actually I'm mentoring an intern right now who's doing graphic design. So that could be something that comes out of her work. Actually, I think I have a ticket open for it. Yeah, and JT was saying it's not a fault of the committee. It's a reality of the project being older and bigger. And also, Mindshare Committee hasn't been around forever, right? Like, FESCO I'm going to guess has been around for a very, very long time. I don't know when it was established, but I'm guessing in the 10 plus year range. Anyone can confirm or deny. Mindshare has been around for like, I think a little bit over 3 years. So in the lifespan of the Fedora project, Mindshare is relatively new, right? Like newer than the community blog or, you know, these things. Like it's not like Fesco or like the Fedora Planet or something like that. Some of these more deeply ingrained things we've had around. Yeah, definitely. Like, do we have any other questions to answer? No, none in the Q&A. Cool. Cool. Well, does anyone else have any questions for us? I think the questions that have been asked have been actually really, really good ones. So keep them coming. Ben made an interesting point. So Ben runs the elections for us. So Ben says the Fedora elections are generally a name recognition contest. More votes are cast than the number of page views on the interviews. That's interesting. Ben, do you think that's a problem? Like, has it gotten to us a situation where someone was voted to one of these that maybe wasn't like an ideal candidate?
So I don't think it's a problem necessarily, because I have seen candidates who are mostly, I think their reputation has been negative, get very few votes.
Okay.
So name recognition does work in both directions for you.
Got it.
I do wish more people would read the interviews because, I have to read all of them as I put them into WordPress. They're
you
generally
want everyone else to go through it too.
Well, they're
That's
generally
kidding.
pretty not that distinct. Like everyone has their own unique flavor, but nobody's really out there saying something that's like completely out of left field. Okay.
Right.
But it does, give a sense of where people's focuses are. Not necessarily if they're going to make good or bad decisions, but people might want to focus on a certain area, and if you think that's important, you might want to vote for them. And whereas if somebody else is going to, if they're going to focus on some other thing, you're like, okay, that's nice. You're probably going to do a fine job, but it's not the area that I'm particularly care about. But I do think people who want to win an election should participate on mailing lists and in IRC channels as often as they're able, because sharing good ideas and having people recognize, oh, that person has said a lot of good things in the past. I know their name. Sure, I'll vote for them.
Okay. In an ideal world where we have unlimited resources to create design materials, I would totally love to see like some kind of overview thing where it shows, I don't know, like it doesn't have to be their face, but like something, and it gives a title and then like their platform. So like, these are the topics I care about, and then we could like tweet them or something. I don't have unlimited design resources, but it's a cool idea. So I wonder if we could improve the election interview visibility as well.
Yeah. And that's partly, so the election, the links to each interview are right there in the app when you vote for the person. But I think also just improving the visibility, right? I wish I had, maybe I should put them in like through a URL shortener next time just to get a count of how many people actually click them, because I'm guessing it's very few. But I think it's also partly just improving the visibility of the community blog more generally would also help there, because that's where they're published. And if people are reading the community blog more, they will see them and they will potentially read them.
Right. I just had an idea too, as you were talking. I was thinking about like, we actually have someone who's a coder in that elected seat, but we could try like promoting those elected seats as chances for engineering or coding related people to get a little bit more involved or give their perspective from FESCO or whatever to the community side of Fedora. Does that make sense? Like almost saying like we really want someone who's a packager or someone who's doing development of some kind to sit in these elected positions. I mean, I don't feel like it has to be that though. So maybe that would be too constrictive. But it would be nice to I think that's where the divide is, right? So I also think that there's this divide of like people who think that they can be in Mindshare, like need to be involved in teams under Mindshare, but that's like not necessarily the case, in my opinion. Like you could come from the coding side of Fedora and have plenty of very valuable input to our conversations and perspectives that we probably haven't had yet in the conversation. So just a thought, like the council FESCO rep. Yes, something like that. It could be a thing. I think that FESCO is going to be like, we don't want another official seat somewhere. That's my, that's what my thought is, but we'll see.